All right, welcome to my live stream. I'm Joshua Kemble. I've been a professional illustrator and graphic designer for over 15 years, but pretty much like 20 now. An art director for I think 8 years now. And aside from that, when I'm not art directing or working on graphic design and illustration, I'm working on comics. And I do this live stream while I'm working on Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. A little bit of a weird thing from that. It turns out that the publisher I was working with, West Margin, got bought out. And I'm not sure how much I can kind of share about it other than it's still the comic's still going to be released. It just turns out it's going to be through Turner Publishing, and we're getting more info on that later on. But in the meantime, I'm still plugging forward and trying to get pages done. So once we get all that publication stuff sorted out, hopefully I won't lose track of my deadline. So what I'm going to be working on is comics, and I am working on page 55 of what will be a 230-page graphic novel. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get into the work. And I'll go ahead and walk through some of the previous pages that I've gotten done as well, just so you guys can kind of follow along with the sequence. So here we go. It's morning too. So just so you know, like, actually I should just take off these unless somebody decides to join or something later on. But it's morning on Sunday, and so it'll be interesting to kind of see who all shows up. And aside from that, like, it's going to be fun to get things done. But if you hear sounds in the background and stuff like that, that's just people living life in the room in the background. So, okay, let's get into it. So basically over here is where I'll be working on my page, and we're going to go through the pages that I currently have and then kind of get into the most recent page after that. So we're at Chapel House, Twickenham, London. This is page 52. And then we've got Tennyson as a character, which is kind of exciting. And he's saying, I hold it true, whatever befall. I feel it when I sorrow most. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than to never have lost at all. And then we have clapping. Woohoo. Then we've got page 53. Tennyson says, Mr. Browning, perhaps something from your impending volume. And Robert Browning stands up saying, Mr. Tennyson, I am honored. He looks over. We established that there's some other people in the room. That'll be important. And then we've got our troll who basically says, let's have it, Browning. And then we're on page 54 where it says, you may regret it once I've begun. And then the troll says, worth the honor of being your first critics. My wife was cracking up over me calling him a troll. I think he's called a heckler in the script. But anyhow, so Browning pulls out his book and then says, I am poor brother Lippo, by your leave. You need not clap your torches to my face. Zooks, what's to blame? You think you see a monk? What, 'tis past midnight, and you go the rounds, and here you catch me at an alley's end where supportive ladies have their doors ajar. So he's definitely talking about a prostitute, you guys, just so you know, in this poem. Okay, then we're on to this new page, and this is what we'll be working on today. And we got Scott Circlin joining. Let me throw Scott in the chats. Let's see here, Scott. How's it going, Scott?
Good. Let me know if this works, because I only have my iPad, and I don't have headphones or anything. So if there's any slapback or anything, let me know.
I don't hear any slapback.
Okay. And I can't.
How you doing, man?
I can't say how much other noise is going to be. I'm over at my girlfriend and her roommate's house, so but you're used to that over there, so.
Yeah, we got a lot of noise in the background. It's anytime you do these, like, we usually do these really late night streams, and so anytime you do these morning ones and you have like animals and people and
we got all that here.
Yeah.
We
So how
got
you doing, man?
or 4 dogs, so
Oh,
and 3
four.
people right now. So
Wow,
yeah,
four dogs.
yeah,
That's impressive.
yeah, yeah. But I'm just doing my. I was sitting here. I was listening to Gary's stream. He had Corey and Scott Lost on, and then Jim kept popping in. I was listening to that, and then I saw you were going live. I'm actually fulfilling my Kickstarter right now, so I got my 3D glass and my 3D prints. I'm just
Hell yeah.
stuff. So
I believe you have some art for me, dude.
I do. Yes. Yeah. And I know you opted for that Ghostbuster one, but if there's a different one you want, let me know, because I have some other ones too. So, but
I like the Ghostbusters.
okay, cool.
That's pretty classic. Dude, I'm really excited about getting working and stuff, but I'm excited about your Kickstarter fulfillment, man. Like, that's the one thing I will say for everyone out there. If Scott's ever running a Kickstarter, he fulfills, man. He fulfills. Because you do what I think people should do when they do Kickstarters, which is like, you know, like have all of the art done and have it ready to go, you know.
Yeah. So I think I forgot how long ago I wrapped up, but it hasn't been that long. But I said I would ship by December, and I'm planning to get everyone these out by this month. So I try to get ahead of schedule. So
I'm excited too, because like I've avoided kind of hearing too many spoilers. I think you offered to show me the script a long time ago, and I was like, nope, I don't want to see it. I want to read the book. So I'm excited.
There's some big reveals in this one, so we're getting there.
That's badass, man. Well, let's say somebody's out there and they like missed the Kickstarter. How could they get a hold of Young and the Dead copies?
Well, if they missed it, they should probably, if they want the full story, probably wait, because I'm not going to put the newer issue on my website until after I ship these out. So, and then I'll probably have some kind of a bundle where you can get them all together. But if you don't want to wait, if you just want to get the first 4 issues, you can get those at circworks.com.
Sweet. And art by Galen just said, oh, hey, a wild Scott appears. That's right.
Hey, Galen, how's it going?
So how long?
I got that. I was going to say, Galen, I got a new, I think I'm on the mailing list for Comics Wellspring, and I saw their mailing list has you all over there with your series, your Making Comics series. So that's kind of cool. This is a cool partnership.
That is really cool, actually. It's not a bad idea. I almost wonder if you should reach out to like a indie printer or something, Scott.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking at certain sponsors for some of the new videos that I'm going to be doing, but I want to make sure that they have something to do with the actual content, which that would definitely. But the other thing Comics Wellspring is doing is they're starting to sponsor artist alleys. So I don't know if that means that they're going to subsidize like artist tables or what. I don't know exactly what that means, but they're sponsoring their first artist alley. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's rad, dude.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll sponsor in Arizona.
Yeah, hopefully. What sounds cool, I don't know exactly, Galen probably knows more about that than I do, but because he had mentioned it to me when I was talking to him, but about his partnership with Comics Wellspring. But usually, as you know, when you go to a typical artist alley, it's not all comics. But I think if they get a sponsor that's producing comics, hopefully they'll start to get more comics in artist alley.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. So how long is the fulfillment process for your Kickstarters, like after the fact? Like,
so right now, you mean as far as when I'm going to actually ship?
No, just like more like you have, it's something like a lot of people talk about running Kickstarters and stuff like that, but I'm always kind of curious about the aftermath. Like how long is the fulfillment process for you to have to do? Like, basically, how big is your pile, dude?
It's pretty big. I've made a pretty good dent. I guess that for me, since I had everything done, the artwork and everything was done. It was a matter of I had to send stuff out to like for all the extras and stuff. That went to Cat Print and they printed those up. And then I ordered like 3D glasses and stuff on Amazon and then I sent my order for Comics Wellspring, and those cat prints usually got a really quick turnaround. Comics Wellspring, it takes a good. Sometimes it can take up to a month, so you just be ready for that. It just depends, especially if it's con season and they've got a lot of orders or whatever. But I think it took maybe 3 weeks to get those back from them, and then and then all the other stuff, all the the Gemini mailers and the backing boards and all that, just getting all that stuff. And it's a pretty streamlined the way I'm doing it. I mean, it's not anything fancy as far as special printing. Like I said, it's all print on demand at this point. When I do a trade, it'll probably be more elaborate, but so it's not too difficult as far as getting everything and all that stuff. And was that the question you were asking?
Well, yeah, I was just kind of curious, like how long you're like how many days you got to kind of spend doing shipping and receiving, basically,
Well, the shipping part is kind of that's kind of, I'm curious about that, because like the last Kickstarter I sent, there was this, it's weird, there was this plumbing company, and they had some kind of partnership with the post office where they had you go in the plumbing company, and they had there was a post office in there, and it was like the best kept secret because it was never busy. And I could go in there and drop. And
wait, so when you go in there, are they like, it's me, Mario? Is that no?
Not exactly, but
so it's a plumbing company that does shipping. Yeah. It's like this dark.
I guess anyone could kind of it was just like right in their lobby. So the people would go in their lobby, and then they'd have like a little post office there. But I don't think it's still there. I don't think. I mean, the plumbing place is, but they must have. Maybe it wasn't profitable or what, but
maybe it was a front for the mob.
Something like that. It was odd, but I love
going in there and actually shipping stuff. They're like, oh, darn it, this is gonna mess with our. Anyway.
But it was great because there was never a line, and like when you go in there with a ton of books and stuff, it's kind of a hassle.
Yeah,
I know there's other things like there's stamps.com where they come and get it and all that kind of stuff, but I think like I'm shipping media mail, and I don't think stamps.com does all that stuff, or so there's a post office right by my house, but it's always super busy. So that I don't know what kind of hassle that's going to be when I actually go drop the stuff off. And I've got a few international orders and stuff, so I don't know.
I think it depends. You know what? You'll probably win out if you go during like a time of day that like is usually people with day jobs like are working.
Well, what they told me before, what I've noticed is that if you go closer to closing, but I don't know with all those boxes if that will work out. That's when they said was a good time to go sort of closer to closing for some reason. You think people will be rushing there to get stuff out by then, but.
Oh, hey, we got Philip in the chats too. I was going to say, Philip, if you want, I'll send you a link if you want to hop on. I don't know if you're in a space to hop on there. Yeah, I think we gotta get Scott Lost on Artcasters.
And Keith too. Yeah, we'll definitely get them both on. I mean, I've got a list, and I got this. My friend, remember Arnold? We had him on with the rest of the guys from that bought Gold Key Comics.
Yeah,
he just opened a comic store called Ghost Cactus Comics. So he went there, and they had a signing. And there was do you know who Jay Gonzo is?
Jay Gonzo? No, I don't. But I like his name because the Muppets.
Yeah, there were two artists signing there, and one was Jay Gonzo, and I've bought all the single issues, but I bought this collection of his book. It's the most beautiful looking.
Oh, that's gorgeous!
It's all on newsprint. I mean, as a designer, and he said this was the last one. I don't know if this is the last collection that he just had with him, or if it's the last one total. But so I don't know if he has any more of these. But it's the most beautiful book. The first. This side is all in Spanish, and this side is all in English.
Oh, that's badass!
It's got a whole. It's got like he had commissioned some other artists and stuff, but then he's got a whole thing on the process, and it's all very, you know, it's about a luchador, and he's got some like UPA style stuff in there, and it's a lot of mid-century modern stuff, and he talks about the whole printing process.
That's gorgeous.
It's the coolest thing. So I talked to him about getting him on the show, and also another guy, Craig, another artist, Craig, who, let's see, I got some of his stuff here too as well. So,
that's
that's
sweet.
kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, we've just got so many people, and then I know a lot. A lot of people have reached out to me. Some people that we've had on the show before who have Kickstarters, and I don't know. It seems like now it's like the place people are contacting us when they've got a Kickstarter. I mean, I don't mind doing that so much, but I also I don't want to keep having the same people on if they, you know, because if they're running a Kickstarter every 6 months, just, you know, I want fresh topics and stuff like that. So some of that stuff I'm not sure about, but we got so many people lined up to do, you know, that I want to get on the show. So
yeah, well, let me know, because I honestly hate booking. So like if you have anybody you want to get on my my week, I'm fine with that, because I'm always
I've got a few. So yeah, we could do that. We could definitely do that.
Cool. Yeah. Dude, I've noticed that too, though. I've gotten a couple of emails like where it's people reaching out about Kickstarters, and I've been mixed about it, because like I think it's cool and it's great for content, but I also don't want us to become like another one of those shows that's just like a Kickstarter promotion show, you know?
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah, and as long as the topic the topic, we've got a good topic going, and you know, obviously, I mean, the main thing we do is we let everyone promote their stuff, so we're not against that. But I just, you know, I don't want it to become just that, you know.
Yeah, just like a Kickstarter hustle page, which again, like it's cool for people to promote their stuff, and like we want indie comics to succeed and stuff like that. But you know what's funny? I've been noticing like Paul Pate has been talking about, like, I guess he had a big uptick in sales for his Detective Perez series. And
I still have to get that. I'm definitely going to get that.
I'm surprised, because he was saying it's mostly due to just me talking about it on my streams and stuff.
Well, yeah,
like, that's crazy. But yeah, like, dude, like people should be buying that. It's pretty awesome. You'd like it, actually, Scott.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know from what you were saying where you're having trouble going through. I've got just a stack of stuff I haven't read, but
I know. It's the dark secret of, we got Philip Chandler joining us too. Yeah. How's it going, Philip?
Hey, there we go. How you doing?
I think this is the first one we've been on together.
Good. I'm doing all right.
Yeah, Philip, have you met Scott before? Like, officially met Scott?
I think this is the first
I don't know
one
if through live. I know I've chatted a couple of times with him just through text, but I don't know if I've been on a live with him before.
Well, Philip meet Scott, Scott meet Philip. How's it going?
Yeah, Philip's another one I want to get on the Artcasters, because I saw
Philip,
I saw you on Christopher Runsman's his stream, and yeah, I mean, it was just, I mean, your career is pretty interesting, so we definitely would like to have you on too.
My career was kind of short-lived, though.
Well, you're still doing comics.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're hustling and still doing art, we're interested.
The weird thing, I've never stopped drawing, but as far as actually doing something professionally, I haven't for a long, long time. But yeah, I'm always still doing something on the go. So
yeah, I was watching, I think it was Adam Lore's stream or something that you were on. And that was pretty interesting, hearing you and Paul like talk about caricature art and stuff. It was pretty fascinating.
Oh yeah, that was I think it was just last night, actually. I think I was up really late last night chatting with him.
Yeah, that was a cool conversation. It's an interesting thing. I would be scared crapless doing caricatures, because it's like you're on the, I mean, I guess I'm used to doing art on the clock, but art on the clock when you're drawing somebody who's sitting in front of you who will get really offended. Have you ever like offended a person with a caricature?
A couple of times where you usually try to have a sign set up next to you with a couple of samples so people get an idea of what you do. And it's like, so this is, hey, caricatures. So most people kind of, if you come to a theme park, you see a sign that says caricatures with these goofy drawings. Most people know what that is. And a couple of times, there's been a couple of people who just kind of either didn't get it or just, I don't know, they bring their kids over and they think they're going to get an actual literal portrait, and you do this goofy drawing and they're just like, what is that?
It's crazy how many people don't get that. There's a documentary I watched, and it's on YouTube, and I forgot the name, but if you look up Caricature documentary, you'll probably find it. But it was kind of depressing in a way, because a lot of these people, a lot of the caricature artists, it just seemed like it was just a really not an easy career, and people were talking about people artists almost getting beat up because somebody didn't like their caricature or something like that, or
I've heard some horror stories. Yeah.
And I've done caricatures, but the stuff I've done is kind of like the stuff that, well, not so much. I was going to say Gaz, but Gaz does events. I've never done any events. I always worked off of photographs, but I would do Christmas cards where a company would give me a bunch of pictures of their employees, and then I put them all kind of Mad Magazine style, stuff like that. And every once in a while you get somebody can you don't make me look too big or whatever, and it's well, you're kind of big, and that's kind of the idea, is to exaggerate, but okay.
Have you guys ever read Caricature by Daniel Klaus?
I haven't.
It's so great. It's about a caricature artist who wants to draw authentic caricatures, and he keeps he just offends and pisses off people because he just makes them all look hideous. But he's a caricature artist who draws really authentic caricatures, and that's the whole bit in the story, is he's kind of desiring to show real caricatures of people which exaggerate all their worst features.
Right.
But I could kind of understand that. Reading that, I empathized, because I was I do think there's kind of a true caricature you could do of somebody that would not be flattering. But I will tell you, Philip did this awesome. Let me see if I can pull it up. Do I still have it? Hold on a sec. It's one of these.
Oh, right.
Hold on a sec. Let me go here.
I still have it. If you lost it, I still have it here.
Oh, there it is. And I think that was great. I thought that was a pretty excellent caricature. I love the gesture of it too. Yeah,
but I'm not even one of those that go super overboard. In fact, because of my animation background, I had almost a little bit of a Disney-esque kind of look to everybody. So this sort of big eyes and that kind of look to it. And so a lot of, especially girls, if somebody come up and he has like young girls or something, they all seem to really like that, because I could make them look like Disney princesses and that kind of thing. They love that sort of thing. So mine was a little more softer as far as caricatures, but I've seen some people just go crazy, outrageous, bending eyeballs popping out. If somebody has a large nose, it takes up 3/4 of the page.
Yeah.
I've seen some crazy stuff that's oh wow.
I'm forgetting who did all the Oscar caricatures. It's a really famous.
Was that Hirschfeld?
I think so, yeah. And it's all very very controlled line, very, one or two lines. Yeah. That stuff is amazing, but very much in that style where it would just be if somebody has a big nose, they're just a nose. Have you ever been tempted, when you were doing caricatures, you're I want to really just this person?
Oh yeah. You see it, and it's because you look at a person, as soon as they come up and they start talking to you, you're already kind of examining their face, what you're going to do. And someone comes up and you look at those main features that really stand out, and it's just boy, how far can I take it with this person so they don't get offended, but
Yeah.
And yes, and a lot of the time, sometimes the first things that come out of their mouth will they'll sit down and be like, "Don't make my nose too big. Don't make me look too old. Try not to give me a double chin. Try not to
make it look like somebody other than me."
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because I think there is a weird thing psychologically where people will feel like they're ready for something, you know, but like when it comes to people's appearances and their own perception of themselves, I think people are probably a little more fragile and guarded than they realize, you know, where they'd be like, yeah, just go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
And then you do it and they'd be like, yeah, this is offensive.
See, younger guys in their late teens, early 20s, they come up for this sort of thing. They want you to go all out. They're like, yeah, make it look completely crazy, make me look completely wild. They have a girlfriend with them. She's like, no, I don't want, no. Well, everyone's like, yeah, make her look really crazy. So yeah, it's
I love it. I just like, I don't know, but I think it's got to take like when you do caricatures, there's a bit of like customer service to it, I'd imagine too, right? Where you got to kind of. That's interesting.
Yeah, and we usually tell people like if you really don't like it, and you don't have to take it. You know, we're not forcing you to take this. If you're happy with it, then yes, we want you to pay for it. But if you don't like it, don't feel obligated to.
I've always wondered if somebody could do that, like live streaming. Like that's something I was thinking about recently. Was like, you know, are there any people doing like live stream caricatures where they're taking commissions online and just having somebody on? And
the only one I know, I'm sure there's a few. The only one that jumps to mind is a guy named Roser World.
Huh.
And he streams a lot. He streams a lot during through the week. Like he does demos. He does. He'll bring up samples. He'll do like some celebrity caricatures and teaches how to do that. And he'll say, like he says, I'll also do commissions. I'll do them right here if you send me a picture. And he does like these 2-3 hour streams. He's also Christian, and sometimes he also does Bible studies while he's doing.
Interesting.
But yeah.
It's funny because I'm a believer, but I don't know about live stream Bible studies. Yeah, that's pretty awesome though. It seems like a decent hustle. I don't know. I was thinking about that. Like if I ever lost my job or something, I think I might try to do like life painting live. But I have no idea. Like the other thing, and Scott could probably relate to this too. It's like, a lot of the time what you'd make doing illustration compared to like what you could pull like doing something like that, like I don't know if people would want to pay like pure hardcore illustration rates, you know, for a live stream drawing, you know. I don't know.
But I don't know, they're generally, the thing about caricatures is they're generally pretty quick, you know? And so I think that makes, especially after watching that documentary and seeing how those caricature guys struggle so much, I think that to work it into a live stream where if you got a decent enough audience and you can get audience participation and you can maybe either get like, if it's super chat or I don't know if it's on Twitch or whatever, because there's other ways to monetize it. It seems like that's a good way to go for a caricature artist.
Yeah.
In the comfort of your own home where you don't have to go to different events and stuff like that. Makes sense.
Yeah, I would think you could rake it in, you know, but I don't know. Because I think people are vain, you know, like it's like why, like people like seeing a caricature of themselves. And then if you're, I guess if you were going to do that, the way to do it would be reach out to a couple like really well-known YouTubers and be like, hey, will you do this live stream? I'll do a caricature of you, you know? And get a couple of the big people to like pose for it, you know.
Yeah.
Or actually, Scott, what you were talking about too, where you could do like, or sorry, not Scott, Philip, you were talking about that. The idea of like maybe you do movie stars or something, like if nobody's, you know, taking.
Yeah.
I don't know though.
That I do see quite a bit. I see a lot of people, if they want to do demos, they'll open up pictures and they'll go through how they do it. That I've seen a few times.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is that something at all you'd want to do, Philip, or you'd just be like, nah?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of on my list. Like I say, once I get kind of things organized, I really want to start the YouTube channel going, and it's definitely something I've had in mind. Demonstrate how to do caricatures. I haven't done them as often lately in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I kind of stepped away from it for a little while, but no, yeah,
So
it's definitely something I've thought about for sure.
So if you haven't done it for a while, is it kind of like a muscle you'd have to kind of get back, or is it more like something like once you've learned, you kind of have it intuitively down?
Kind of, because it's still you're still doing a portrait, you're still drawing, but it's just to how should I put it? To get the flow of doing a character and doing all the exaggerated features and to do them at that speed again is just something I just kind of have to work back up into again. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's like you said, kind of like you haven't worked that particular muscle. You're still doing other things, but to actually do that specifically, you kind of have to just kind of, I find it for myself anyways, I have to kind of work back into it. It'll probably catch back onto it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Once I'm at it again, but.
So what are you working on currently, Philip? Like what's your latest kind of thing?
Oh, to be honest with you, I haven't really been able to concentrate on much just because of everything that's been going on here. I've had to kind of this mess that's been happening here has kind of overtaken most of my life. I think I've mentioned before that I've had to move my studio kind of from the office downstairs, and I'm converting the living room into kind of a new studio space.
Yeah, it's looking nice.
But it's been a bit of a process because you remember I told you about the whole bed bug situation last June.
Yeah,
we had to put all this stuff, like everything had to go into containers and be shoved away into all these different storage space. Like we had to put stuff out in the shed out back in the boiler room. So it's been a huge juggling act. Like it's just the reason all this has taken so long is because we have to take stuff out of there, put them somewhere else. Then I'm slowly bit by bit bringing stuff up here. What can stay up here? What can go downstairs? Like I had all this room repainted, completely redone. I've put some stuff up and realized it's not going to work the way I wanted, so I've had to reshuffle things, and it's just been this process, and it's been hard to really sit down and actually pick a project and actually work on it.
Yeah, that's hard when you're shifting studios. I'm kind of curious. Like Scott, you've been doing that recently too. Is it kind of hard when you're setting up your new studio to kind of like because to me it's like once I have my setup, it's easy to work on art, but like not having your setup in flux seems like it would make it a little harder to work.
Yeah, like with mine, I so want to start working in there because so the studio right now, for anyone who's not aware, the studio I have right now is just basically in a walk-in closet. The one I film out of. I don't actually work out of it, but it's just a little
shattered my
closet.
illusions,
and there's two, and then I'm taking what was a spare bedroom and turning that into a larger studio, and I want to start working on that because my girlfriend's gonna be moving in like next month, and there's two like identical walk-in closets in the master bedroom, and one of them is mine, and the other one I just gutted and built shelves, and I want to do the same thing for me, but I can't do that until I need to get the new content that I'm going to be doing is quite different than kind of what I'm doing now, and it's a little more elaborate. Then I want that whole setup, so I want to start getting build a buffer of these videos because they're going to take longer to produce, and I can't really. But I want to keep doing the videos that I'm doing now, so I don't want to break down everything else and not have any content. So I either have to start filming a bunch of stuff to, get ahead of it with some of the stuff I'm doing in the existing studio, or just get moving on this. And actually, like Corey, in another 2-3 weeks, Corey's going to come out and help me with that. So,
yeah, you guys got to do a video
together and stuff. So yeah, we'll have to do something. It's going to be over the weekend, but yeah, I'm sure we could figure out a way to live stream something. I don't know.
Why does Josh just come out?
Jen says she wants you to come out. You and Jim can come out too, and I'll reach out to Gary. He's local. It's easier, but
It would be fun to go to Arizona at some point.
Yeah. Veterans Day weekend is when we're doing it. So
I really love your set, like your whole setup.
You're gonna like the new one, Philip.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's gonna be cool.
I guess it makes me nostalgic for years ago. I used to love watching like growing up in the 70s and 80s before the video era. You'd watch all the Saturday afternoon horror movies and monster movies, and there'd always be a host with this crazy set. And I love that sort of thing. And so that's why I saw that, and it kind of made me think of that. And I thought, oh God, I love that set.
Yeah, this one will be a little less cartoony, but it's going to be cool. But it's still going to have that mad science vibe. I'm not getting rid of that. Good. Yeah.
I love the idea. I just always feel like it needs some puppets. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to do originally.
Yes.
But I know YouTube has changed so much, so I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I could probably still try to work something like that into it.
I mean, you could have Jennifer rock the puppet. Like she could be the puppeteer. She
probably would do it.
Yeah.
She got upset at the last Artcasters because I said that my friends and family don't pay attention to my art, and she actually does. So
she seems super supportive of your art.
She'll watch Artcasters and stuff. I've never dated anyone before who would actually watch like Artcasters or anything. So
yeah, it's a pretty cool thing when you have like supportive people. For me, it's like my wife is extremely helpful, especially with like photo references and stuff too. So it's like I've always joked that if people randomly went through any illustrator's like photos, they would just think they've stumbled upon like a lunatic. Just because, like you're like, I don't know, I've had to do like barbarian books and stuff in the past, and it's like, so there's all these photos of me like shirtless being a barbarian when I'm like 2 pounds, like, but it's like, you just need that pose. It's so funny. Anyhow, it's kind of like if somebody like saw an animator animating, but they never got to see the page. They just got to see the guy like kind of being like, oh, how does a punch work again? And they're doing that and then doing that and drawing. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's also like when you're doing a comic and you're working and you're doing sound effects and you're sitting there going,
exactly. Like, and then holding the faces you're drawing. Like, do you guys get yourself doing that a lot? Like, if I'm drawing somebody really mad, just to like draw it and to get in the zone of drawing it, I will get really mad. We got Jim. Morning, Jim. How's it going, buddy?
Where's Jim?
Jim, when does The Night Eats Its Own come out? I'm excited about it. We need to know. Also, Jim Lujan should just be hired by everybody to just specifically come up with titles, because his title sequences are hilarious.
Oh, and Jim offers. I'll reach out in the thing, but Labor Day weekend, if you want to come over, we'll make you dinner. Corey will be here at my house, and we're going to be working on stuff. So
that sounds pretty awesome.
Hopefully Gary too. It's a little easier for him because he's local. But I'll reach out. I'll reach out in our thread there and formally invite anyone who can make it. I know it's harder for the people in California, but
I just think it's fascinating that like Gary's an interesting guy, but I didn't realize that he was friends with a guy who used to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
That's kind of a like those Scott Lost things were so interesting,
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm not too familiar with pro wrestling, but
yeah, neither am I.
It's definitely an interesting story. So yeah.
I guess
I definitely am going to try. We'll get him on the Artcasters. I definitely want to try his Slack method when I start my next issue. I think that might work for me. So
yeah, it scares me a little bit because I like working sequentially.
Yeah.
but it kind of makes sense because there are times where it's just like I really don't want to do backgrounds, and then there are days where I'm like in the zone and can knock out, those art days where you're just like, throw me anything, I can draw anything, and it kind of makes sense, his method of like kind of switching it up, depending. My only thing, and I think Scott, you might have pointed this out, but it's like I worry that I would just do all the fun stuff and then I'd end up with like this nightmare scenario where I have to do all the stuff I hate doing for like a year,
Yeah, I could see that being a problem, but I might do the opposite though. I'm more like, I typically will, if I have like a client project or something, I typically like to get the hard, unpleasant stuff out of the way first. So just by my nature, I probably wouldn't be a problem. I'd probably try to tackle all the either difficult or stuff that I don't want to do first to get it out of the way.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, it would make more consistency in the comic, It's an interesting idea. Philip, I don't know if you heard the Slack method thing from Gary's stream.
No.
It's like this artist got lost. He will work on a comic where he hasn't mapped out, and instead of going sequentially, he'll basically just work wherever he wants for like a specific amount of time. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, Scott. I have no idea.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on to explain it.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on to explain it. But anyhow, so the idea being like, there's days where he's down to work on backgrounds, and then there's days where he just absolutely hates it. So like, rather than fight it, he'll kind of work, he'll better explain it if we have him on.
Okay.
But for me, I just envisioned that I would just do everybody's faces, and then I'd end up in this scenario where I just have to do a crap load of backgrounds and just.
I think it also. I think a big part of it, if I understand it correctly, is that when you're from day to day, you're just in different moods. So if you rather than just saying I don't feel like working on a page today, then if it's a day like that, then you just work on something, that's a little easier or less, less thought you have to put into it. And then the days where you're really into it, then it's like, that's the day where I'm going to do like a crowd scene or something like that, or,
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I just don't know if I have the self-control to work it. But I'll be interested. We'll have to have him on just to kind of talk about that,
I mean, your method seems to work pretty well for you, Josh. So, but I think I could. My productivity is not like yours, so I think his method might work better for me personally.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. I've never tried it. That's why I'm like fascinated by it. I like the idea of kind of carving up little chunks of the book as a whole rather than kind of sequential. I think that would be really interesting. Philip, have you ever tried working on just like a bunch of different parts of a book, or are you more of like if you're working on a book, it's better to just do it page one to do it sequentially?
It's funny you mention that because I've never fully completed one. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I know that if I says, okay, I'm going to dedicate to actually doing one, I would probably be sequentially. I'd probably be from beginning to end, straight from page one to page whatever. But when I had this idea for the Star Tales comic years ago, I had it all kind of written out point form. But for some reason, this one particular moment I had to illustrate, and it was about, I don't know, maybe about a third of the way into the story, but I knew I had to get it down in rough. And for some reason, I jumped into that particular moment, and I drew out about 10 pages, I guess, of it in that particular section of the story. And I figured that maybe by doing that, I would help me get it underway. And I forget things happen, but it's so strange that I don't normally would do that. But yeah, I'm very much maybe it's because I'm somewhat OCD. I kind of have to be kind of from beginning to end kind of thing.
Yeah, Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I guess Jim was saying, I love that method. And he said, I unknowingly do that method. And I have seen Jim kind of work, and he does kind of work where it's sort of like holistically, like he's just getting different parts done, and it kind of all starts eventually fusing to a finished whole. It's an interesting idea, you know, because I do wonder if it would make more productivity, because I definitely have had those days where like the last thing I want to draw is a building, and then I'm having to like force myself to draw a building. You almost wonder if you were to do a method like Scott's where you skip that for that day, you know,
Yeah.
if you'd have more productivity working on other things, you know. It was an interesting concept. We'll have to have him on to talk about it.
I love doing stuff like that. That's me. That's my perspective brain.
Yeah, you definitely have like a lot of really cool videos too on perspective. I was kind of recommending them for people on Philip's channel. He has some intro to perspective kind of stuff, and the way you explain it is really, I think, really cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember doing that. That's kind of a year old, that video, but yeah, I remember doing that. I remember wanting to do that for a long time, and wasn't sure actually how to approach it. And I wasn't even sure if maybe I was rambling too much through it. But
no, I thought it was cool.
But
I feel like oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna, maybe I might eventually do kind of a follow-up to that one.
I think that would be cool. I mean, I think perspective is always interesting, but it's a hard thing to kind of explain in an interesting way, you know?
It is,
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like how you broke it down. You made it very digestible. It's kind of interesting.
I was talking to Frank a little bit with it, because I know he said that was something he was having a bit of trouble with, was perspective. And sometimes, I guess, because the whole concept of the 1, 2, and 3 point perspective and all that is stuff I learned in high school, and I've always known, like it's something that's just almost second nature. It's just there. But for somebody who's never really done anything with it, and he was kind of having trouble still grasping it. He didn't quite get it, and I kind of forget that sometimes this is something that, you know, I've known all these years, so it's just a natural part of what I can do. Yeah. But for somebody else, how do I go back and try and explain that now to somebody who's something that's second nature? It's like, you know, picking up a coffee cup. Somebody doesn't know. That's never done that motion with their own. How do you explain that to them from scratch? And so that I found a little bit challenging in a way. And because he said he watched the video and he was still trying to understand it.
I think that's one of the hardest things about like teaching or trying to teach is like, you know, and one of the reasons, like, it's funny, like as artists, I think we all have like imposter syndrome where you'll be like, what do I have to teach, you know? And then you end up in a scenario where somebody doesn't know 3 point perspective or something, and or even 2 point, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, but to have to go from like being able to do the thing automatically. And Scott, you do this really well with comics too. Like your comics courses are really good at like kind of breaking it down so that somebody who wasn't super familiar, not that you're teaching drawing or anything, but if somebody wasn't familiar with comics, it's like you break it down in a way that's like very digestible. And I think that's really cool, you know. But that takes a lot. I don't know. It takes a lot of skill. Like I remember the first time I had to teach a Photoshop class, having to explain pixels and then being like, oh yeah, that's right. You like people don't know what pixels are, you know? It's weird to go from it's weird to go backwards and be like, okay, here's what a pixel is, you know?
You take for granted all the stuff you've learned, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's like the same thing with, you know, like breaking down, you know, perspective and stuff. Like to me though, like I've never had like I've taught illustration classes and stuff like that, but I never had to like teach like intro to perspective, like a perspective kind of introduction. Although I would have to critique pictures where the perspective was off, but to have to go, yeah, that perspective seems like it would be a tough one to break down and teach. We've had David Chelsea on, and he's talked about perspective before. And he has a real gift for like breaking down complicated perspective to where I feel like, because his grasp of perspective makes me feel like I don't know anything about perspective. Because he can walk you through like, here's how you do the perspective on a spiral staircase, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, I can do that. And I try it for like 2 seconds, and I'm like, never mind, no, I can't. I hate perspective. But it is a basic. I don't know. It's, to me, I think the way that the way you explained it, Philip, is really cool, because it does seem like you took into account like people who may not even be familiar. I'm surprised though that Frank still, like, you know what it is? It's probably like, maybe do a second video. Maybe that's a good sign. Like if you're getting questions about it.
Yeah, I might end up doing that. Well, that was kind of when trying to talk to him about it, I thought, oh, maybe I really need to kind of flesh this out a little bit more, a little bit clearer. So I'm presuming too much maybe, but
yeah, well, it might be a good sign that it is something to do, because if there's questions about it from somebody who's less familiar, you know. Because to me, they seemed really clear, but then again, I'm a person who's been doing perspective for a while, you know.
A long time, yeah. It's funny because I remember learning it in like high school art class. I think even in public school we touched on it a little bit, and I don't know if they even teach anything like that anymore.
Yeah, like how many kids are having to get out the good old thumbtack and thread?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting idea. Like, what, as an artist right now, I guess this would go for both of you guys. What would you find to be one of the hardest things to like teach somebody, like that you do intuitively? Like, what would be like the nightmare thing where you're like, oh man, how would I even teach this?
One of the things, it's not something necessarily. The thing that I really have a hard time teaching people is like anything having to do with software, because the way I learned it, like I know how to do things in certain software, but I don't know like what the tools are called. I just know what it looks like. Oh, it's this little thing that looks like this, and so I properly like teach people software. It helps to know the terminology, what the things are actually called. So anytime I have to show somebody how to do something in a program, I have to do a little research myself. Okay, I use this tool all the time. What's it actually called? Where do you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even. I mean, it's so intuitive that you just grab it, and it's like you don't even, unless you're looking at, you don't even know how to explain like if you have it set up a certain way, like how it comes out of the box, how to find it. You know, if you move your tools around, if you got your setup's different than the way it is, and then where would it be for you, or different versions? That's I don't like to talk about is like software.
Yeah, that makes sense, because like I had trouble, especially with a lot of basic stuff that I've memorized the key commands for.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
when you've memorized key commands, then to like even to slow down and look at what keys you're pressing.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't even remember what keys I'm pressing. It's just like I just do it, you know. And then to be like, oh, okay, this is actually this tool that I'm shortcutting to. That's kind of hard.
Be accurate, because I've gone through tutorials where something isn't spelled out, and like, mine's different. What do I do? I can't do this. Mine looks different, or it doesn't. Yeah. So you have to be, with software, you have to be super concise and be really specific about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so true.
Bride was lost.
So, Philip, what you mentioned a comic called Star? What was it called? Star?
Oh, Star Tales, I'd called it, which I may actually have to end up changing the name on. But yeah, it was something I came up with. Oh God, almost 15 years ago. Came out of a game actually, because I had friends of mine that were very much into tabletop role playing, and one particular friend of mine, he used to buy like all kinds of books and try out all different systems, and we just get together like once a week or once every couple of weeks, and he'd want to try. We'd have sometimes these one off, or sometimes they go for a couple of weeks, but these little short games just to try them out. One of them he picked up. It was a really simplistic system, and it was to set up like space adventures, but also it was very light. It was very kind of aimed at young people, and it was almost kind of a comical in a way that it set it up. And so he wanted to try it out, and we thought it'd just be fun for a night to try this out. And we come up with these silly characters, and we rolled out whoever we were on this, and I came up with I was going to be captain of this traveling ship, and I come up with a dog character. I thought it'd be great to have him as a dog. And I was thinking, I guess, a little along the lines of Sherman and Peabody. He's a dog that has like a human. He's really intelligent, but he has this young human companion that's not that bright. But the thing was, they would travel the universe and solve mysteries and get into trouble and try and solve problems. And as we're doing this, I kept thinking to myself, this would make a really great animated series. I would watch this if this was an animated series. And as we were playing it, I was drawing out all the characters. And we come up with some really crazy names for our characters and sort of goofy plots. And I just kind of kept going with it. But I was thinking in my head, because at the time I was working security full time, and it was really stressing me out. I was like borderline anxiety attacks half the time. I don't know why I stuck out that job for so long, but it this was something I could work on. Even take my sketchbook to work, and on some downtime between like patrols and shifts and whatnot, I would sit and draw this out. But I was thinking the whole time in terms of developing it like an animated series. Like, how would I write out a storyboard? Who would do the voices of these people and these characters? And
yeah,
it was just something fun to kind of just because it was keeping me sane at the time. And I was having a lot of fun with it. And everybody kept telling me, why don't you make it into a comic book? And I was like, yeah, but I have too much. I visualize this too much with sound, and the gags are kind of more visual gags that require action and motion. But the more I kept thinking about it, I thought, yeah, maybe it's a way I can kind of approach it. Maybe I could do this. And so I just started. I laid out a few pages, like I was saying earlier, and I thought maybe I might try the first idea as a book, maybe as a comic book, but and it kind of I've so much happened over the years. I kind of picked it up and put it down, picked it up and put it down. It just I was never able to kind of dedicate any time to it, because I remember shortly after, like my I had to stop doing security because I was going mad. And then my dad passed away shortly after, and then I had to move back to Sweden, and I was kind of hard. I was very close to my parents, so so that was really hard for a few years. And no, but I guess the kind of idea is kind of, it keeps coming back to me. I keep finding like the old sketchbooks and coming back to it over and over again. And I keep telling myself I should pick it up. And of course, I also had that idea for the children's book. Also, had been kicking around too. That sort of came up for a little while, but.
Christopher was saying to do it as a comic and do a reading of it, and he said he'll do the high squeaky parts.
Well, the funny thing was, actually, at the time, this is going back to, as I said, about 15 years ago or so, I was actually starting to think if there was some way I could merge the two, like do an animated comic strip. And it doesn't even have to be fully animated, but is there a way I could do like a web comic that's like a moving web comic that could have sound and maybe have some people do the voices of the characters and just animate little bits of it. And is there something I could kind of do with that? And it's still something I kind of kick around. I'm not sure exactly. I know people have done something like that, and I've often wondered, is there a way I can kind of do that? And how would that reach an audience? How would I market something like that? Or how would I put that out for people to see it? So that's.
Have you ever seen Stray Dogs, the comic?
Yes, yes. Because my roommate sells comics, and he brought them home once, and I loved it. I saw it, and I was like, "This is that style of that comic, and the drawings in that are amazing." It's a dark story. It's definitely dark. It's funny because the drawings are almost sort of Disney-esque, but it's definitely a very dark story. But yeah, I love Stray Dogs.
Yeah, so like I almost think like, could you set something up like that where it's like, it is a comic,
It is, yeah.
Because I mean, it's possible, with that style to do a comic.
I think it's the animator in me that kind of wants to see some of the visual moments in it and some of the visual gags that would require a mix of sound and action and that kind of thing to make something come across the way I'd like it to. That
Yeah, it'd be interesting though, like because I think about like Pogo and like the old school, now I'm gonna blank out. You guys probably will remember, like the guy who did all the old Uncle Scrooge comics.
Carl Barks.
Carl Barks, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think about like those where it's like you have, artists who, were very the comics themselves felt very animated, even though they weren't. That's always a possibility too.
I hate to do this. I actually have to start work in 1 hour, and I have to clean up.
No worries.
And pack some stuff, and I'm really enjoying this. I love coming on and chatting with these, but duty calls, unfortunately. But
cool. We'll have a good day at work.
Yeah,
it was good to have a live stream with you, Philip. Like I said, we'll have to get you on our podcasters at some point.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, absolutely. Let me know. Yeah, sure. One second. Oh God, that's not gonna fall. Okay, sorry, something on my desk was gonna fall over. I had to stop it. Yeah. Sorry. All right, I better skedaddle. But
all right, have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Take care, guys. We'll talk again soon.
Yes.
Later, Philip. Yeah, I don't know how much longer I'll be on either. I wrapped up I ran out of polybag, so I did all the stuff I can do. And at some point, I'm gonna go get lunch and stuff, but I'll sit here and hang out for a little bit though.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not in a again, like not in a huge rush or anything. There's no agenda on my live streams. So yeah, hang out as long as you want. By the way, Christopher, I sent you a link in case you wanted to hop on Facebook as well. Christopher's been doing some pretty interesting live streams.
Yeah, I've got to check. I've checked out a few, but I've got to check out more. I've been doing some stuff that requires me not like watching stuff while I'm doing it, but I think next week because I finally I wrapped up that one comic that I was going to do for that was the, that place out in Saudi Arabia, which I didn't end up going. So
yeah, I was gonna ask about that. So they didn't end up. You didn't end up traveling.
no, it just towards the end, it's just like a lot of the things that were kind of, promised were kind of unclear. And I'm like, I don't know. And there's also an issue with like the visa, like we had to rush the visa to get the visa approved. And apparently, because they're opening it up to tourism, and they're planning by 2030 they want to have as many tourists in Saudi Arabia as like, Paris or something like that. And it's keeping in mind that 2 or 3 years ago, you couldn't really go there. So they're changing. I mean, they're really changing a whole lot of stuff about what they're doing, and just the fact that they're building this kind of smart city out there, which, obviously that whole country, the riches from that country all comes from oil. But I think they must see the writing on the wall with everything eventually moving towards more sustainable stuff, because this city they're building is supposed to be all fully sustainable, which at first I was like, that seems odd because they're making all their money off of oil. But I guess they figure, well, we might as well invest this stuff into something that has a little more, a little more of a future to it. So
yeah, it's kind of like hedging your bets. Yeah, because like if your primary thing is one thing, why not hedge it with the other thing that might replace it? Maybe.
Yeah, because even like I heard that like I guess the U.S. military is like one, if not the biggest consumer of oil. And they're seriously looking at switching all their. They've got prototypes and stuff, and they're switching all their tanks and all their heavy machinery over to electric. So, and if they can do that, then, once the people that are all against, once the military, because a lot of people like the same thing with the Hummers and stuff like that, when, they all want we want the biggest thing on the road, but we want it to guzzle gas and all that. But once people see that the military's gone electric, I think a lot of people who typically you wouldn't think would be interested in owning an electric vehicle, they're going to shift there. Because if you've got the most powerful tank or whatever, or, industrial type vehicle in the world that's run off electric, it's going to kind of shoot holes through the whole idea that electric isn't as powerful, and then once people see that, they're gonna. So I think things are gonna change, and you already see it with the amount, at least, and you're in California, so it's pretty much the same thing in Arizona. The amount of Teslas you see on the road now, it's crazy. So
yeah, and I heard something like Tesla is going to be doing delivering their first semi trucks, like I think next year or something.
Really,
so that'll be.
I mean, so yeah, I think I just don't think, and obviously for good reason, I don't think there's going to be much of a future in oil, which is crazy. Who knows? Because you remember back with it when they first tried to introduce that electric vehicle, and all the companies like just quashed it. There was a movie like Who Killed the Electric Car or something like that, But I don't know. They have the oil companies now we're paying record amounts for gas and stuff right now, and they're making record profits. These oil, like last year when everyone was struggling to fill their tanks, they're making record profits. So I don't know how much longer that gravy train's going to go on.
It's going to be interesting to see. I'm really excited about it because I love the idea of an electric vehicle, and they're just outside of my budget. What I mean? They're just a little too expensive, and it's like but that's insane that they're just barely. Whereas before it used to be absurd, the price. Now the price is getting a little closer to feasible.
Yeah, I think that's going to change, because at one point, back when I was entertaining that whole idea of the NFTs, and that, I'm like, it's possible that I could come into some money. I'm like, well, I'd like to, if for whatever environmental reasons, the NFT, I would be destroying the environment with the NFT. I was like, well, maybe if it turns out and I'm doing that, maybe I could get a Tesla and then I'll feel a little bit better about myself. But I don't know. I mean, I think if I was to like, and it wouldn't be an easy purchase, definitely, but if I was to get one, I know that a couple years down the road, there'd be definitely a more affordable option, because I think that's the way it's going to go. And it'd be like it's like back in the days when like a big screen TV would cost like $4,000 or something. And then you buy that model. And then 2 years later, you get that same one for half the price. And now like you could get the same model for like, just a fraction of that. So anytime you're dealing with technology or like phones and things like that, when things first come out, all that new technology is so expensive, but then it just gradually gets less expensive. So I think just waiting it out is probably the better option,
Yeah, I mean, I think that hopefully by the time, like, I unfortunately recently had to buy a car, and like, again, electric are just a little outside of my budget, which sucks because I'm a commuter, and so it's like long term. Long term, I would save so much money. But what I'm hoping is by the next time I buy a vehicle, I think that like Teslas and like cars in that kind of route will hopefully have come down in cost,
I think it's sure to happen. And I was looking at, there was some other, and I don't know what it was. I'd never heard of it. I forget. We went to the movie theater, some other electric car with some logo that I think I seen one other time, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know what the price range is, but it's like, oh, there's another company doing them,
Yeah.
And I know, like, I used to own a Hyundai, and so they still send me stuff, I'm on their mailing list, and they developed this really cool. I saw they sent me the whole brochure, and it looked awesome. This electric vehicle they had. I'm like, oh man, maybe this one's more affordable, but it was pretty close to the same price as a Tesla. So like, no, but yeah, with more of these car companies looking, I think the technology will get cheaper, and especially once they're able to do, like, which it sounds like they already are, like big giant trucks and things like that, and have those be just as powerful on electric.
Yeah.
It's going to be a game changer.
Sweet. Well, we got Christopher and Frank Salazar. How's it going, guys?
Hey. Hello, brothers in Maple.
Yeah, so I'll hang out because I want to hang out with you guys a little more, but at least now there's more people, so I don't feel like once I do go, I have to like bail on Josh and leave him alone.
See ya, Josh.
How's it going, guys?
Good. I just got back from church, so just making a snack.
Nice. Church and snacks sound delicious.
They don't give you donuts at the end of that church? What kind of church you go to? Right?
They used to give you donuts in the morning, but we started getting heftier, so I think it's my sugar went through the roof.
That's funny.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Christopher. How you doing, man?
I guess it's afternoon at this point for me.
Yeah,
it's what is it? 11 where you are at least, John?
Yeah.
And then same for you, Scott?
Right now it is, until we switch back over to daylight savings time. Then I'll be an hour ahead. But right now I'm on the same time zone as Pacific time, because Arizona doesn't observe daylight savings time.
Oh, you're not very observant.
2 in the afternoon where I am. That's why I'm saying good morning.
It's 1:12 p.m. here.
Okay, Frank, you're just weird, man.
Wow.
Weird times, man.
I'm in Texas, yeah.
So you guys, I've been going for about an hour, so I'm gonna step away for like 2 seconds, but I will be right back. So, and again, like anyhow, so feel free to.
You're gonna throw on a trailer, or?
I can throw on a trailer, well, let's throw on a trailer because I have all these awesome trailers. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put on Jim Lujan's amazing trailer because I think it's amazing. Yeah. So we'll watch that and then I'll be right back. So.
Cool.
Ooh.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm going to have to go with Karen Carpenter.
Roll it.
Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won. Trish, you've won a copy of 2 stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
I love how he said Joshua Kemble. That's great.
That's so good. Yeah, the crumble, the deep cut right there. I love it.
And the Kim Gordon reference for the Sonic Youth partner.
Yeah, which, by the way, Sonic Youth kind of ruined me as a musician because there's this song called Diamond Sea that goes for like 20 minutes on Washing Machine. And because of that, for about 10 years when I was playing in bands, we'd just do like 30 or 40 minutes of feedback when we played live, which in retrospect, I'm like, it's fun to do for the musician, but we were no Sonic.
Not for the audience. Yeah. Not for the audience, I've discovered. Yeah.
Although I will say, I saw them at the Hollywood Bowl with Pavement, actually, a couple years back.
That show.
And they played Diamond Sea live, and it was like being just buried in this beautiful feedback. It was like it was amazing. Yeah,
there was an old Smashing Pumpkins song in the earlier days of their run from the album Sliver, I think, and Sliver, and it was called "Drown," and and so it was featured in what was that grunge movie? Hey kids, grunge is cool. Starring Matt Dillon.
Singles?
Singles, because Matt Dillon's relevant. And
I love that movie.
Film. But that film, that song, has a good third of it is just this. It's got awful sounds and these distorted melodies that they're running through the guitars. I love that song. That song spoiled me for feedback. That, to me, as much as Sonic Youth and Pavement and Modest Mouse and many of these bands do these really fantastic feedback bits, that song by the Smashing Pumpkins, of all people, is just that melody is stuck in my head. And I know every component of that whole third part of the just pure distortion nonsense of that song.
Yeah.
My wife hates it to her core. Absolutely cannot get anywhere close to halfway through that song, much less anywhere near where they really start going into distortion.
So ease her into it. Just play her Diamond Sea and be like, okay, this is just an introduction.
Yeah, that would never work, man. That would never work. I introduced my wife to Rush. She was pretty solidly just pop radio rock. You know, hardcore was Foreigner. You know, now I gotta listen. My wife listens to Tool now, and it's
nice.
Like, how did that happen? You know, it's funny, those things that you can get. And when you share with your partner, you can just slowly distort them.
Yeah, my wife is hilarious and was more into hardcore than me. So like when we were dating, she had like taken like a baseball bat to the shins at like a Naked Aggression concert or something. It's like, so which is funny because she also is like really into like musicals, and like I think her favorite soundtracks are Nightmare Before Christmas and then the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Oh my!
She non-ironically loves those, but it's like she also has this background of being like more hardcore and punk rock than I was. So it's kind of a funny contrast.
That's been, yeah, Lori's clearly a rock chick, even though she comes off as very conservative. My wife is clearly a rocker.
That's
like
awesome.
a rocker, like an 80s, 90s rocker girl, right?
That's badass.
Whereas, you know, I'm weird art house alternative guy. Do you ever listen to PJ Harvey?
I do like PJ Harvey, actually.
Right. That's somebody you reference and people go, who? You know, and which is unfortunate, but yeah, there's not a chance my wife ever would have listened to PJ Harvey. But
Good.
Slowly working on her.
Yeah, you get them in there with like the Pixies. The Pixies are like the induction for good indie music, where you're just like, okay, I'm gonna play Where Is My Mind, and then from there you can kind of get people eased into it, you know.
Yeah, the trick is put it in your playlist, put it in your rotation.
Yeah.
In between Journey and Air Supply.
Hey, you know what? I love Journey. I like
everyone should. Journey's great.
There's love
nothing
them.
better than that band. Everybody has to like Journey and sing along with it.
Don't talk to Corey about that.
Is that a cue?
Journey?
Oh, Corey.
Wasn't it Corey that doesn't like Journey?
I think Corey hates Journey. Yes. Yeah. Which is funny because I listened to Journey for a little bit ironically, and then after a while it just switched where I'm like, I non-ironically like this band. Like,
Age does that too.
Yeah.
You're ancient now, so as you get older, you're going to realize that when did I start listening to Harry Chapin? Why do I keep crying to this Cats in a Cradle song?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm listening to a lot of like early 70s stuff. But like so my daughter, her high school has like this performing arts center, and they have actually like actual legit concerts there. And I went there for she had a like award ceremony that I went to, and I was looking at the marquee and some of the acts that were coming up, and there was Croce Plays Croce, which is Jim Croce's son singing Al Croce songs.
Oh, that's sad.
And I actually it's really interesting because I saw him on like some kind of news segment, or maybe it was on YouTube, but it was taken from a news segment, and it was really interesting because so his son AJ, like he never would perform any of his dad's songs, and he had a really interesting story where after Jim Croce died, his mom married some guy, and his stepdad like beat him, like where he went blind. And I think something happened where he got now he has some of his sight back, but just all this horrible story and everything. And a lot of those songs were written for him. So it was something that I wanted to check out. And then I went to go get tickets and it was totally sold out. But so I was kind of about that, but yeah.
There's a great line in a cartoon. It's the best misquote that I've heard of that Cat's Cradle song. There was a show called Harvey Birdman that was on in the early 2000s, and he says at one point there's some reference to relationship challenges between parent and child, and then under his breath, Birdman goes, "The cat's in the cradle with the silver ball." I have to actively try to think of what that actual song title is now. That one line in a cartoon, just a passing moment. Yeah. Cats in the cradle with the silver ball.
That's so funny. Scott, did you catch Christopher's amazing joke about
not pretentious? What was it? I forget the word. Yeah, I caught it.
No, come on, you'll get it, Scott. What is it?
It's no, I won't say presumption. No.
Starts with a P.
Yeah. Hold on. I forgot. Well, okay, explain it to me again. What's the description?
It's a P and an A, I think. Something around there. Like it sounds a little bit like the like almost something similar to like Patreon.
It's like when you're being condescending.
Oh yeah. You're being. So I got to figure out which way to say this. You're being patronizing.
Oh,
patronizing.
Go ahead, Christopher.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I think you mean patronizing.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's the best stupid joke. I love that. I've been doing that to quite a few people since.
I'm just going around creating monsters at this
point. Exactly. You're gonna end up with like you're bringing back pretension in the best way.
It's a Jimmy Carr joke, and if you're familiar with Jimmy Carr's,
it's good
humor. I mean, it suits it perfectly, and it's the fact that when the audience person says patronizing, and he looks and goes, "I believe you mean patronizing," and he has that because he has that erudite British upper class accent. It just makes it a little bit worse.
That's so good.
You know, there's few comedians that are more equipped to deal with hecklers than that guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's brutal. He's a brutal character. But how you guys doing? How's everybody doing? What are you guys working on? Scott, have you finished the next book?
No, I haven't even started the next book. But I was right now. I'm just sitting here talking to you guys, but I got to get going. But previous to that, I was working on fulfilling my Kickstarter. So I was bagging comics, and I got here. I'll show you.
Yeah, that's why I came on to see where's my book.
Yeah, it's kind of so I just bagged I got the so I got the 3D glasses and the 3D print and I've been bagging extras, and I bagged some comics. So.
For the overseas people.
No, that one. This. Everyone gets that. That was one of the 3D print was the stretch goal, and the other.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Not every. Oh shoot! You know what? I bagged those wrong because not everyone gets that one on the other side. But I'll figure that out later. But so everyone definitely gets this, and then some people, depending on what tier you're on, gets this. So
what is that? A threat level?
This is a zombie threat level thing. Here, let me pull it out. So you cut out this little hand here, right here, and you get it like a brad, and then you put it there, and then depending on what day it is, it's whatever your zombie threat level. So you can just sort of, that can be just kind of what day you're having, you know.
So do I need an adult supervision of some kind?
Yes, you will need
in the arm,
scissors or an X-Acto knife, and I don't take any responsibility for losing fingers or anything like that.
I'm not allowed scissors.
Okay.
Well, and you want to be careful because it's a zombie thing. So I mean, you know, if you accidentally cut off a finger, you might end up with like a zombie.
You can put the real finger on there then instead of just the fake hand.
Just get people to record testimonials before they succumb to the zombie virus you're spreading through those.
Right.
I got one of Scott Circlin's Kickstarters.
I love the idea. Testimonials are a great idea though. Like for like the trailers that I have on here, that was Jim's idea to do, just like crowdsource it and just tell people like, hey, what, you know, if you got a review, I'll put it on.
When everyone gets their 3D prints, take pictures of it and post it on social media with your glasses on and stuff.
Well, we when I went and did my Kickstarter or bought I got the digital books from you because I just had to spend, like, literally the day before, I had to spend $3,000 on a fence.
Oh wow, yeah,
and it's there's this whole argument inside myself of sticking to the budget. I really want all of Scott's books, and so I said, I'll get the digital ones right now. I'm gonna get all of them later on. And it was like, but I was just really,
they'll be around.
Argument in my house.
Anyone in Canada or any international, I kind of expect that you would probably opt for the digital just because the shipping's so much. Although I am packing in a bunch of extras for international people that just so that kind of offsets the cost of some of that shipping.
That's exactly why I was arguing with myself, is because you're like, I've thrown in a bunch of extras, Chris. Canadians, I mean.
It's literally like the tier was literally titled Christopher Runciman tier.
It was international orders Christopher Runciman. It said parenthetically, and in my head, anyways, in my neuroses. But it was this real debate for me. I could have got a threat level meter. I could have got a zombie virus. Anyways,
I've got extras, so we'll
but I definitely will be purchasing those. Are you finding that as soon as you finish 5, now you're doing all the fulfillment of this project, the challenge of when you finish one thing is how fast do you go moving into that next initiative? Now,
I know.
I'm one of those guys that works on multiple things, but how do you do it?
Well, technically, I probably should have started already, but I'm just going to wait till I get it out, and then I just have to say to myself, okay, I get to start the new one, and it'll probably be, it could be one of those things. Maybe at the latest, I wait till the beginning of the year and make it, kind of a fresh start thing. I don't know, but I think the one thing that's going to help me is we were talking about this before you joined, but I was looking at doing Scott Lost's Slack method that he was talking about.
What is that?
With that at all? Okay.
I'm not. No.
Okay. So how do we explain this, Josh?
I took a crack at it before and failed, so I want to hear your attempt.
Musical number.
And we're talking about having him on the Artcasters, and he can explain it. But generally, it's kind of like you do kind of like, I guess, multiple things at once, and it's kind of depends on what kind of day you're having as far as what you want to work on. But you're working on like multiple pages at the same time instead of sequentially. So if one day you just want to do all backgrounds, or another day you want to focus on, faces or whatever. So, and there's definitely, obviously there's more to it that I'm going to have to dive into and learn a little more about. But it seemed like to me, it seems like it might be something that would help my productivity. If nothing else, just because it's a new way to approach something and testing it out.
Well, that's something similar to how I work.
Is it?
Like I'm doing, this is a village haunted story that I've been posting online.
Yeah.
And so this is all really organic. There's a lot of scenes that have been in the forest and stuff like that. So I've been having, I'm drawing scenes like this, which are just lots of shapes and lots of, just organic things. 2 kids go to a haunted cottage and they dare each other to go in. And you can see all those pages posted. But at the same time as I'm doing this book, I'm doing this one. And this one is set in a city. So there's a lot of very, very linear elements, very, very structured storytelling. And in addition to
all that perspective. So when you're in the perspective, when you feel like doing perspective rather than just, I'm approaching this page and it's got some perspective, and then later I got to go into this other page and it's got some perspective. But if you feel like, if you're really on a roll with your perspective, you're in that mindset, then instead of just doing the one page perspective on one page, you would just do it throughout or whatever. So it's kind of, as much as I can gather, it's sort of like that. So
and then because I'm doing those 2 different books at the same time, and then I'm still doing 1-page comics at the same time from people's suggestions. So now I've got, and I do a page a day. Whatever page I'm working on, I'm doing a page a day.
Nice.
And so, in addition to that, the other thing I do to juice it up a little bit for me, and this certain story, I've introduced, because it's about a ghost story, potential ghost stories here, but it's aimed at an all-age fair. But whenever the supernatural things happen, I draw them in negative. So I take a heavy grade cardstock, right?
Yeah.
And I draw on that in white.
That's awesome.
And so then that's an insert panel on this page.
Awesome.
And so even while I'm drawing this page, because I know I have this extraneous element, I'll insert that. And so eventually it just turns out like, hold on a sec. That's source images. I like finding weird old photos. So you can see here how, the spooky voice is scaring these girls as they're walking home from high school. And so I draw that 3rd panel in the top. right here. I don't know if you can see it, the mouse moving around. So that's drawn in white on dark.
Cool.
And so by putting in those weird elements, it's sort of, but what it really allows me to do is, again, to not just get trapped in a thing. It sort of sounds like it's similar to this guy's, the fellow's advice. What's his name again? I'm going to write it down. So
Got lost.
Scott?
Yeah, he's a friend of Gary Hodges, and really interesting guy.
Cool. That's why a lot of these one-page comics that I do are in all these different medium.
Yeah, when you're saying you're doing a page a day, you should change how you say that and say I do a comic a day, since you're doing these one-page comics.
That's true.
I finish a comic every day.
It's not. I'm not that crazy. I
was gonna say, if you're our guest that's gonna be on Artcasters, David Hartman, that might be a possibility.
Like I've got
that's in an hour though, Josh.
Yeah, that's true.
I do a page an hour.
We still couldn't believe that.
Good Lord. That's fast.
Yeah, we had him on. David comes on almost every Halloween, but he did one Artcasters where he did a page in an hour. In the hour that we did the Artcasters, from like nothing to fully colored and finished, we were all kind of like, "Wow, that's amazing."
What? Yeah, my record is
we gotta,
when I teach in classes, I'll actually go through the structure with the students. Whereas I'll walk through a one-page idea with them. And so I'll literally say, let's start with our opening scene. What's our setting? And do we have a main character that we want in it? And when I do that and the kids are feeding things at me, I'll start drawing them either on the whiteboard or on a piece of paper, whatever it is, so that the teacher can reuse those things again. And I'll do a one-page comic in the classroom in an hour and a half that way.
That's pretty impressive.
And, but it's just drawing on this big board. It's not colored. It's not, and the lettering is my hand scrawl, which is hardly legible. And, but the kids are all engaged in the making process of it. And so then the kids got to spend the next week making a short story. That's the whole bent with these grade levels for the most part. But I've done this with university students. Failed dramatically.
What? Who failed? Like you or the university students?
Well, the whole project, because I was there's a school in London called the Ivy School of Business, and so you've got an awfully lot of highly academic, very acerbic wits. It's very, very linear thinking, future business exec accountants. My intention is to be an actuarial within the year. That's cool. How old are you? 19. Oh, okay. You've got a mindset, right? Like it's just a very different type of mindset from my own. And so I'll say, let's think of a setting. And I'll just watch an entire group of 30 university students go. And then after this long pause, somebody goes, how about the room that we're in? It's like, here we go. Anything in existence. And you came up with the room that we're in as a group. So, yeah. Corey says college students have forgotten how to play. That's true. I think that's true. I think that's tragically true. But
I like Corey said, why is this comic book full of insects and skeletons? And he's like, well, I'm trying this new method. Corey, hop on. You should hop on.
Yeah, I actually have to get going. So
all right.
But I will catch the rest on the replay. So
sweet. Thanks for stopping by.
I want to meet this fellow that you've said that sort of works similarly to me. I'd like to chat with him sometime. That's awesome.
Yeah, he was just I was just watching Gary's. He did 2 streams yesterday, and he was on the second one. So
cool. I'll have to look that up.
While sculpting an alien.
Gary was sculpting.
Gary was. Yeah. I'll have to check that out for sure.
All right.
Well, all right, guys.
Have a good lunch, man.
You too, man.
Bye.
Bye. So what are you working on, Frank?
Well, You guys went on for so long, I can't do my bit. I was working on this sandwich, but I already finished it.
What kind of sandwich was it, Frank?
Bean and cheese.
Okay, slow down. Bean?
Yeah. Not one bean. It's bean
Well,
spread
you
over.
didn't say beans. You said bean.
It's one bean and one cheese.
It's literally a grilled cheese with a bean in it.
A single
Basically.
bean.
Yeah, just one. Just one. I just boiled one bean.
It's like that.
There you go.
Do you guys remember that Mickey Mouse? Like where he ends up going to fight the, what is it, like Mickey and the Beanstalk?
Mickey and the
Beanstalk.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where like they're so starving that they have a single bean and then they're cutting it like into little sections to split
I
the
remember
bean.
that.
Yeah. So that was basically your sandwich.
I picture playing. I picture Frank placing that down with pincers or tongs and just
just gently laying it there, and then just gobble it.
Eat that like Cookie Monster, buddy.
I've done something similar like that years ago, where I was with a group of friends right after. I think we just came from a prayer meeting, and we had breakfast, and I had, after I finished my breakfast, someone had some toast they didn't want and some jelly. So like, oh, okay, so I'm taking my time, lovingly spreading the jelly, and taking my time, evening everything out, and then I just eat it in like one or two bites. And everyone was just like watching me like that. I'm just like really like having
I've got a friend. When they make me toast, I was going to do the Tangerine song, the Vaseline. You remember that song, Josh?
Oh yeah,
I got a friend who makes me toast. You don't use butter or any of those.
That was
jelly. You don't use cheese.
Now I am blanking out on the band's name. Yoshimi versus the. What is the band?
I hadn't heard that.
No,
it's the band that did Yoshimi versus the Robots.
It's Frilly. No, it's oh my god.
Now I can't believe I'm blanking out.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed in myself right now because I've only got 7 albums on my playlist.
Oh well. Look up Yoshimi versus the Robots.
Versus Pink Robots.
Yeah, and it's that same band, whatever band that is, and they do live shows where he'll get in like a giant bubble. Yeah, I just can't believe I've forgotten that band name.
The best part of that band. The best part of that band is that they covered Pink Floyd. It's the Flaming Lips.
Flaming Lips, thank you. That was going to bug me.
Oh, okay.
They covered Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Really?
Yeah, they do concerts where they'll just play an
album.
What
did they cover it with?
Well, yeah, Vaseline. And they'll do a show, and then they'll do an after show, and they'll do an entire album that they like.
I think that's great. I think the wandering bassist thing is hilarious too, where they'll, like, if they have a celebrity who's a fan of their band, they basically, and they want to hang out with the band will make them play a show as a bassist dressed in like an animal costume. And they've done this for years. So every once in a while you'll see somebody in a weird animal costume. That's a celebrity who wanted to hang out with the band.
Just weird guys. You gotta love that. But I really like. I have to say this. I've noticed this. I don't know who this is, but I've noticed in a number of people, different YouTube shows and different chats that people have. Some person. It's all how you read the name.
Oh, that's right.
Right,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Always insightful things to say. They said. Corey says college students have forgotten how to play. and then some person. That's how I'm going to read it. Says because of what the name is that's being used on the interwebs. You can read it however you want. Some person, right? But yeah, I think play has an unwarranted stigma to it, seen as something immature that only kids do, and it's really just a form of learning. Always insightful comments from some person.
Yeah, some person really makes really great comments.
Who is it? Some person. Some person.
Could you imagine if you had the curse of just always sounding sarcastic with like everything you said? We're just like, some person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Like that.
I suppose if I had conversations with other
The
people.
Simpsons.
Sorry, what was that, Frank?
There was an episode of The Simpsons like that when Homer was traveling with like this punk band. They're kind of like Woodstock, but it was like the modern punk bands. And there's like these gothy kids in the audience like, that's a really good thing that he's doing. Like, are you being sarcastic, man? I don't even know.
Great. It's great. I love it.
Corey says play is awesome.
All right. Especially Google Play, all the stuff you can get on there.
Uh-oh.
I think it is important to have like elements of play as a creative, I think if you like lose the play, you can kind of lose the plot in a weird way.
Yeah, when you start losing the joy of why you do what you do, it's no longer.
Well, that's a thing I've been a huge advocate of for my kids as they were growing up. I whatever you're going to do, do something you're either A, going to enjoy, or B, find ways to find it enjoyable.
Yeah.
Without being a detriment to everyone and everything around you. You always got to put in those addendums. But, find a way to make it enjoyable. Find a way to make it some kind of process. And like if you've got to work at the counter at a variety store for the late shift in order that you can go home and then, work on your wood lathe for your love of table legs and pursue that agenda.
Oh.
It should be a really particular thing. Then figure out working at the variety store, but figure out how to utilize that time and how to find engagement in that world that might facilitate development in yourself so that when you've got your time for actualizing, you're doing it, right? So, which means, daydream or doodle or, if the people that you meet and find out what that world is and get to know the broader existence. And it's the most mundane task can facilitate the most individual growth. So
that's true.
Yeah, and
I like collecting restraining orders, so I'm doing my best to collect as many as I can.
Yeah, Frank is unrestrained in his collection of restraining orders. Which, by the way, mine is in the mail, Frank.
Oh, okay.
You can mail those? I sent mine by Seagull. I don't know if it arrived yet. Well, I just found a seagull and tied a note to it.
If it doesn't get here, it doesn't apply.
As it flew away, it said, I'm off to sail to Egypt. So I don't know. It might not have been a seagull now that I think about it.
So good.
Terrible. Terrible, Frank. You got to find a new hobby, buddy.
I might try comic making.
And starting a cult.
I just had some syrup right now after my beanie.
That's true. There is a bit of a cultish worship of syrup.
Yeah.
Is that the beginning of a cult, Frank? Like, is it that you're getting people in with like this harmless thing of maple, and then eventually there's.
I even offer an incentive. So if you want your own brothers in maple card, All you have to do is post a picture of your favorite maple syrup, your favorite syrup, or
That's how it
tell me
starts, guys.
what you like about it, and I'll send you one if you want a physical card, and I can even send you a digital one if you prefer the digital. That's how I'm gonna get members.
This is how it starts, and then eventually, like this will eventually be eventually you're going to move people to Oregon to a compound.
Or you move to Canada. We'll go straight to the source.
I don't think anybody has to fear some sort of terrible ordeal of sarin gas in a subway or something. If anything, Frank would, just syrup samples.
That's true.
or pipe the sweet, luxurious smell of syrup through the train.
Yeah.
That's true. It's all positive syrupy things.
Yeah, it's all positive, man.
The only downside is it creates quite a sticky situation, that's all.
That joke was sweet.
You guys, we're dads. We're able to make these jokes. We have our dad card.
Yeah. I find that because my kids are grown up now, and because I started young, right? So now, but it's nice to be able
Start
to
young, kids.
What's that?
Start young, kids. Or start
12.
kids young.
So my we've got grandkids, and so my jokes are getting progressively worse.
Nice. Well, the grandkid thing has to bring out the desire to just make the worst jokes.
Oh yeah. Like, well, a common thing I say to the kids is, a lot's changed in the world since I was a girl your age, but listen. And I say things like that so commonly at this point that I don't realize myself how ridiculous I sound. And it's usually, the oldest ones that'll go, Grandpa, you're not a girl. What's that? You're not a girl. You're missing my point. Yeah.
Get the syrup.
It says drink the syrup and hush now.
Yeah, it all makes so much more sense when there's syrup involved. That's all.
Yeah.
Drink your hot syrup. It's good for you.
There's all these different terms that we have in the northern climates, and I'm sure that Corey could speak to many of these, even because where he is and where I am, it's on the same level geographically. But we have there's things like mucklucks. Mucklucks is a form of shoe wear.
Okay.
What is a muckluck? Is that the?
It's one. We get a lot of Aboriginal terms up here in Canada. So
yeah, I've heard that before.
Is that those tennis racket looking shoe things?
Yeah. Well, no, those are snowshoes.
Okay.
How dare you?
The mucklucks is like a treated animal hide that you can that's weatherized, and you can basically make.
Yeah, it's like loafers.
Yeah, but like a wellies, like a welly type thing. Wellies are Wellingtons.
Oh, I don't.
Rain shoes, rain boots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then there's balaclavas. You know what a balaclava is?
No, but it sounds a bit like baklava.
It's a winter hat that you pull over your face, but it has a space for your eyes.
Yeah.
And no one can see you stick your tongue at them. That's not true. You can see the mask move. But, yeah, balaclava.
Actually, I had one of those camouflage. I can't find it anymore.
It's not. If that's all you're wearing, it's not very good camouflage.
Yeah. That's how I get the restraining orders.
Hence the restraining orders.
That's what's part of my collection.
You made me spill my coffee when you said that. Hence the restraining orders.
Yeah.
We went to Lori and I decided that we wanted to go to a church this week that's downtown, and it's this huge big thing with this fantastic organ and all this ornate sculpture and stained glass. We really just wanted to go to the experience of going to this church, and because they sing hymnals, and it's like, oh, this sort of stuff from our childhood. And we were the youngest people in the room, and
the biggest family.
It was a church that could sit 400 people, 400 or 500 people.
And that was just your family?
50 people there. And it was like, and we're the youngest ones in the room. And the pastor was strangely 5 feet tall, 5 feet even.
Yeah.
And they have the lowered mic. Balaclavas are nice when it's -10. See, Corey knows. And when you're skiing or you're doing any activity where the wind's rushing at your face, balaclavas and goggles. Captain.
Did you say goggles?
I like the idea that like Frank wouldn't have even been on the stream, and just out of nowhere anyone says goggles and Frank just suddenly appears on stream. Did someone say goggles?
I was looking up today how to bulk order welder's goggles. I can see.
No matter what Frank says, whenever he comes in with a one-liner, I always picture him for some reason drizzling syrup. Did someone say goggles?
He's drinking syrup and hiccuping a lot because of the sheer amount of syrup.
The other day I was making a coffee and I was pouring some syrup, and then like, I'm an alcoholic. I'm mapling up my coffee. And then I drank it.
I forgot that Corey had heard Corey mention this before. He said moving from California, he had to learn about covered breathing. Yeah, that's a thing. When it's cold enough and you're whipping into you're going downhill, you're going across country, and you're exposed. If you're on a sled or a horse or a skidoo. You know what a skidoo is, guys?
There's 22 of them, right?
Snowmobile?
From like Blue's Clues or something, or
no? It's a snowmobile. It's another term for snowmobile.
Okay.
But
I had 22 of them.
You got to cover your face, cover your breathing up. Don't freeze your lungs. I forgot that you initially came from California. I'm really curious of whether or not, Corey, have you acclimatized to Idaho winters?
Yeah, I don't know how do you hang with like growing up in it. I'd imagine maybe the winters just become a part of like a normal thing, but for me, just when I lived in the Northwest, it was like a hard adjustment. Like back when I used to live in Oregon, it was just too much rain. And I didn't even realize I missed California until I moved back and was like, oh yeah, it's nice to have sun. Like, because you just didn't see the sun like most of the time. I can't imagine trying to adjust to like the snowy climate. Like, I don't know. To me, that would be really rough.
Most Canadians live underground.
So it's easy.
In like hobbit holes or
in igloos,
sewers.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, you guys eat a lot of pizza too.
Shh. What? Hey, you can get shredded, man. Yeah, there's I'm not acclimatized to heat at all. I can't stand the heat. It's not the heat, it's humidity. If you ever watch Fargo?
Yeah.
Film? Like the film Fargo?
Yeah, actually.
That's Canadians. It's not, but it's set in, I think, Maine, but it's the same acclimatization that we have here in these parts of Canada. Like I walk around in a suit jacket in the wintertime, and if it's wicked cold, they eat mac and cheese with ketchup. Not all of us. But so that was some person.
I figured. That sounds like some person.
Like I walk around just wearing a jacket when in the winter time, and if it's wicked cold, I'll put on a proper winter coat because I've got to shovel or drive or something like that. But other than that, I just walk around in a t-shirt and a suit jacket, because it doesn't, you get so used to it. But there's a scene in Fargo where one of the deputies comes up to a fellow that's given a police report, and he's just shoveling. He's got his parka on, and the other guy's got his cop jacket on, but it's not buttoned up. And he goes, "So I hear you saw these two fellas." "Oh yeah, so the one fella comes in and he's funny looking," and they're just chatting like it's a normal day. Meanwhile, there's snow drifts 4-6 feet high all around them, and wicked. You could tell it's wickedly cold, but you just get used to it. Meanwhile, if I go anywhere hot, forget it. I'm done.
Oh, you die if you come to South Texas.
If I came to see you, it would be I'd leave a lot of me behind.
I kind of understand though, like probably more of like I think I could adapt to Frank's climate pretty easily.
Yeah.
Oh sure, but you're also relative to Frank, aren't you?
Yeah.
He's my cousin.
He's your cousin.
Yeah, that's right. You're my
We're
fact-checking cuz.
There you go. We're twins.
Yeah, I mean, we're brothers from another mother. How about that?
Yeah, I hope that Phil does a comic that he then shoots having people narrate and video. I would really like to play the squeaky voiced female lead.
I think I would love to see Philip make that. I'm curious if he wants to fully animate it or like I don't know. I'd love to see it as a comic.
Oh, for sure. But I think if he has
narrate the comic, that would be cool.
What's that?
Just narrating the comic?
Yeah. Just shoot a video of it and have people reading the comic book and everybody beats certain characters. And if you need movement, you just do this. No, that's probably not what it means. But I'd be the squeaky voiced female lead. In a heartbeat.
I'd be up for that.
What's that, Frank?
I'd be up to do something like that with Phil.
Oh,
or anyone.
I think all of us would want to jump in and be supportive on that front. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's the ultimate collab.
Yeah, and then maybe we could get it sponsored by maple syrup.
That's true. You might be able to. Frank, have you thought about like seeking out maple syrup sponsors for like Tarako Creative Cast? Like
sponsored by Canada.
Okay, so Frank,
yeah,
we had our local library system had a book sale. And so I literally I saw this book and literally thought of you and bought it just because it's called Syrup Pails and Gopher Trails. Memories of the One-Room School. And this book is a history of one-room schoolhouse stories.
Okay.
And how in Canada here and how the kids, there's the time of the year where we'd all go out and tap the sap of the trees around the schoolhouse so that we'd have wonderful maple syrup through the winter. But I saw this as soon as I saw the title, I went, Frank would like that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna mail you this book. I'm just encouraging it right now.
I love it.
I keep describing it as a cult, so.
Did Josh leave?
I think he did.
It's my show now. Brought to you by maple syrup.
How was it possible for him to step out of his own show? And are we still on? Either way.
Because since we're on, we're anchoring it down until he comes back.
How's it going? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, what? Yeah, you surprised us. You just offset our sense of reality because how did he go? And we're still in his show. Are we trapped here? Frank started crying. His face appeared suddenly. He stopped being a logo.
I love it. Wow. Okay. Well, I have no idea what happened there. That was kind of crazy.
I just wanted to show off my bottle of syrup.
It's Frank's powers coming into play. He's Akira now. Powered by syrup.
Frank is rocking that syrup.
Yeah. So every time I make comments on anything that that Frank does that I respond to, it's always relegated towards Frank's slow maneuvers towards global domination and world bending manipulation of his
If
cult.
the world ran on syrup, it would be a sweet place.
If Frank had but one dream, it would be to slather the world in syrup.
I love the idea that eventually, you know, Frank has a book about syrup and a brand of syrup that, like, you know,
Syrup and me, my life journey.
Yeah.
Hey Frank, some person told you to chug the syrup.
At some point, Frank is going to see a vision. Yeah.
They don't have to tell me.
Vision.
There'll be a narrated documentary, and that was a day, you know, and it'll be one of those austere old A&E style voices where, and that was the day that Frank had his first syrup-induced vision, and it cuts away to some horrible nightmare images. You start changing reality as we know it. Some person becomes syrup person, you know. It'll be overwhelming. Corey syrup.
Oh, I love it.
That man was Frank Salazar, syrup mogul.
So you guys, I gotta go eat lunch. Oh, never mind.
Cool. I'm gonna go take a walk in the park.
But I do think. Oh, sorry. What was that, Frank?
I missed that.
I'm gonna go take a walk in the park.
I love that idea.
But you've got half of your Dr. Goggles outfit on right now. Are you really just going to walk in the park, or are you going to defend it?
I'm gonna defend my local park, which I got my goggles right here. Actually, hold on. You might like these. It's beanie goggles.
I love the beanie goggles.
Nice.
It's pretty awesome. Frank is going to go do some vigilante justice. Christopher, where can everybody find your stuff before we? Because I got to wrap it for lunch.
Yeah. At the bottom of my screen, at christopherrunciman.ca.
Nice.
And I'm posting the creative journey of this new haunted. The book's called The Village Haunted, and so I'm posting a couple new pages of this every few days.
I love the idea that. Real quick, is it sort of going to be told in a bunch of different characters' standpoints? I think that's really cool.
It's the first piece was I was calling it Haunted Cottage, and it was about I did a really quick, easily understandable video about page by page. These two people from place A go to, anyways.
Yeah, I remember that video.
And so then the second story arc is about is under the subtitle of Haunted High School, and so it's about a bunch of little spooky things that were going in the high school. And there's 5 parts in all, and that 5th part brings everything together. But there's little aspects that carry over from the first and the second, and so on, and they build in each of those subsequent sections, so that you don't find out what happened to a character in the first part, but that character appears in the second. And then there's characters from the second part, in addition to that one character from the first appearing in the third. Well, so do a couple of characters from the second, and so on and so forth. And so by the end, I've got the key parts of each of the sections all gathered together for the pulling off of the mask. Mr. Winters! No.
And you would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for
for those meddling kids.
Yeah.
So I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I hope people are enjoying my over-involved explanations of process and trying to come to some degree of the comprehension of fear. because the other project that I'm working on is aspects of reality and the subsumation of the individual.
I love it.
Which sounds so ridiculously big compared to what it is, and it's just about a character trying to figure out what's real around them, and but that one's just too heady. So I thought this one is far more exciting for us to all be able to refer back to the things that scared us when we were little.
I love it. I think both projects sound awesome.
Well, you're welcome to join in when I'm working.
I will have to. And I will say, if you guys aren't subscribed yet to Christopher Runciman on YouTube, you should. He has great streams. And I know we had Philip Chandler on too, and I want to recommend people subscribe to him as well.
Yeah.
I've mentioned this before, but he has a really great explanations of very basic perspective on his channel. Really good stuff and good live streams. And then Frank, where can everybody check out your stuff and subscribe to your stuff?
Well, you can find me on YouTube under Salazar Art Nation and also the Turaco Creative Cast. And I have a Linktree. Just type in the Linktree address and type in Turaco Comics. You can go to my Etsy store. I still have about 3 copies left of Captain Goggles and Masked Woman. I got a sketch card up there. I'll be putting more stuff up soon. As soon as all that stuff sells out, so I can just flood it with more stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, I read that, and I have
awesome.
an idea how I can use it in the comments. I didn't want to.
Yeah, I love that. Centaur Mountie appears before you and offers you a ride, a vision quest, if you will. This is how the cult of Frank and Maple is gonna. You guys were laying the foundation for a cult here that could be really great.
I do have Canadian characters, and one of them does wear a Mountie jacket as part of his outfit. So
there's a surplus store in London here that has old Mountie uniforms.
See, you guys need to collaborate.
I need a jacket.
All right, guys. I have to go eat lunch, so I will probably be live streaming a little bit later today. But I know I'm doing music at like 2-ish or something, so it'll probably be like afternoon. But thanks to everybody who is watching, everybody in the chats, and Scott. I forgot to mention Scott Circlin, CircWorks. You guys should check that out. Thanks to everybody who stopped in. And we will see you guys. Hopefully, I'll see you guys later today. So
yeah, I think I'm going to do some more streaming on my thing this afternoon. So
sweet.
Like after this. So
I have church in a few hours, so I might be MIA for a while.
So cool. So if you guys want to keep watching the stream, then just make sure you're watching Christopher Runtman's and like hop over there, and he'll continue the stream.
Yeah, so, if anybody wants to join in, let me know.
Cool. All right. See you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye, guys. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.